Alright, so 3 things you want to do as a Hatchhyack player. Oh, when you're playing in general, but if you're playing Hatchhyack, 3 things you want to be able to do is keep your opponent's life points lower than yours so you can win in time. Knock them out by dealing late damage, of course, and mill. So you want to at least incorporate those 3 win cons essentially into your deck. The first and foremost will be to do the most amount of damage as early as possible, especially best of 1. So as you can see here on top of me, I have the timer from the recorder, screen recorder I'm using to record this duel. Let me move this a little bit so you can kind of see conversations and stuff. Anyway, so like I said, and the reason why is because I'm trying to practice playing with a timer. So the idea is once this reaches 30 minutes, then the game will be over, and I'll start recording, say GG, and let my opponent get the game and move on. But the idea is, is to determine, essentially the idea who won based off of the difference in life. So that kind of stuff. So that's the thing, is to see how much I can do within 30 minutes. So this is the best of 1 strategy, obviously, because on untap you typically only play best of 1, but it's not best of 1 pre-size, just best of 1. So whatever I got in my deck versus whatever he got in his deck. I mean, realistically, that's the way it should be, but whatever. I'm not against the whole best of 1 side deck. My opponents definitely need it. I don't side deck, but okay with my opponents doing it. So I remember being asked that a couple times at regionals. Not gonna side deck? I'm like, nah, I'm good. I don't side deck. Surprisingly, not many people gave me, any conversations about why I'm not side decking, and trying to convince me that I should. They just accepted it, so I appreciate that. Typically, most people want to complain about why I do things instead of just accepting it. It's like, I just play how I play. Of course, doing the 4-star ball thing here, right off the bat, turn 1, you always want to block damage, especially when you can use just 1 energy. I mean, not 1 energy, 1 card to stop an attack. So if 5k combo basically. If you can 5k combo out an attack, then you want to do that. Especially when you know the fact you can always draw and replenish your hands anyway, so it's not a big deal. You give up at least 1 card, because giving up 1 card is better than giving up a life, right? Some people will be like, hold up, it's card advantage. Why not take the hit? Well, I said it in another video, is you lose turns. You make it harder to get to turn 5 or turn 6 or late game, right? When you're taking damage early game, so you're supposed to take less, one or less, right? Ideally, you want to take no damage early game, and then that way late game, when you do start taking damage, or let's say you have less defense late game, at least you still have a lot of life. You still have a cushion, right? So now on turn 2, so obviously I'm going to go aggro. Typically, most Hatchhyack decks don't start swinging until turn 3. Obviously, I could swing as soon as turn 1, but right here I ended up having, since I went first, I'm swinging on turn 2. So I'm swinging 10k with the unison, obviously. And this is in regular time, since obviously it's a 30-minute game. I didn't have to speed up the footage, so this is in real time right here. So it's going to be a 30-minute video. Could have sped it up and made it into a 15-minute video. But there's probably a lot of stuff I want to say, so we'll just go with a 30-minute video. But maybe for future reference, I'll probably try to speed up the video a little bit. Cause I do plan to do a couple more, to do more of these, like, 30-minute best of 1 games. because it's one thing to showcase what a deck can do, you know, and how it could win and blah blah blah, but to be able to showcase it in a time fashion, right, a competitive fashion, like they did it, you know, best of one is roughly 30 minutes, 30 minutes, 35 or something like that. So I want to make sure I have that practice, because normally I just play until, you know, I finish the game. And my most recent gameplay took me 2 hours to finish out the game. I won by milling my opponent out, but it took me 2 hours to do so. Obviously, there are certain factors, you know, lag, you know, among other things, but it's just, you know, how slow, you know, the games were going. Way too slow. We ended up like turn 21 or some shit like that in 2 hours. So it's like, yeah. In a tournament, I'm not going to be spending 2 hours in just one, you know, game. So I got to start practicing, you know, obviously playing, you know, shorter games, you know, best of ones, best of three. I mean, well, best of one. I want to get into the habit of being able to do the most, preferably be in a winning position within 30 minutes. So that's what I'm trying to get into the habit of doing, get into that. Master the art of 30-minute combat. I guess I'll call it that. So expect more 30-minute gameplays in the near future. But the videos might be shorter just so you're not wasting 30 minutes just to see the outcome of the game that you could see within 15. Alright. Like I said, if this was sped up, it'd be a little bit better because, you know, a lot of stuff is, you know, slow. Like I'm clicking N, but it's taking long for the N button to resolve. You know, clicking and then untapping, and then waiting for my opponent to draw, and then to play a card, and all that extra time being spent on just basic ass movements. Hence it sucks. I was a little confused what he did there, but it's like, oh, okay, he's awakening. So he's already at 6 life, so he doesn't have to take any life. So you see we're on turn 2. He's at 6. I'm at 8. That's always good. I use my 4-star ball, which typically I will want to use it defensively, but because I play the skillet strategy, I obviously use it offensively just to kind of guarantee the attacks when my attacks go through. So I power burst. Grab me some cards. I want this thing. So like I was saying earlier, is that you want to get to the point where, you know, you're controlling the pace of the game, right? You only got 30 minutes to play, right? Best of one. So you want to control the pace of the game. So you want to make sure that whenever your opponent deals you 1 damage, you at least try to deal them 2. Right? As you can see, my opponent dealt me no damage, and they already took 2 damage so far. So that's another thing. Even just as something as simple as just dealing 1 damage a turn, just little by little, just chip away your opponent's life can make a difference. I know it can sound a little bit boring, a little, little passe, right? It's like, okay, 1 damage at a time. Why not try to do a lot? It's like, yeah, you could do a lot, but the thing about doing a lot of damage, unless it's crit, doing a lot of damage, your opponent's plussing, and that could open up options and play lines and things that you don't want them to have anyway. So chipping at their life little by little is a strategy you might want to try out. Me for a long time, obviously just dealing damage real quick is the way I roll. But sometimes you gotta switch up your play style, right? Sometimes you gotta switch up how you play. So of course that card is gonna be problematic because it's a blocker, plus it has a tap down ability that could tap down even unisons. Of course that's gonna be a problem, and I gotta get rid of it. Oh, it reminds me, right? It's Trunks Gogeta, y'all. Y'all know me. Apparently, Trunks Gogeta loves playing against me. Because, think about it, I just went on untap, right? I just started the game, and already bang, Trunks Gogeta. And I'm practicing best of one. Right? Best of one, game one. Already, Trunks Gogeta, right? I had way too much practice against this deck. But the irony with that, though, is because of that, I will eventually be making a video on how to beat the deck, because I do have experience dealing with the deck and dealing with certain cards. I mean, you will see most of that experience play out in here. As you can see right now, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to at least get his Trunks off the board. Trunks is one of the problematic cards I got to deal with because of his tap down ability. It does get in the way, especially with most of my unisons. So here I go to 25k. Technically, I should have went all the way up to 30. I should have comboed one more, just in case. Because I was like, well, a super combo would allow him to out combo this attack. So I would want to force more than just a super combo or 2 5Ks. I would at least want to knock 3 cards out their hand. Which ironically, I would be using 3 cards to try to knock out 3 cards from his hands, but at least I would knock them out of his hands in the process of opponent trying to out combo my attack just to save his battle card, because clearly he wants to keep it. And for him, it's not a problem comboing out because he can always replenish his hand. Part of the reason why you try what I try to do with I'll just give you a little tidbit. The best way to get rid of to deal with the Trunks 3-drop and the Vegeta 3-drop, which obviously he's gonna play soon, is just by getting rid of it. They have Trunks has barrier, but the Vegeta doesn't. So the Vegeta is a little bit easier to get rid of than the Trunks. Trunks having barrier makes it problematic. But I do have barrier hate in the deck, so that is in the form of Gotenks Absolute Unison. And the fact that it can do up to 2 battle cards, I can obviously get rid of 2 of my, get rid of both Vegeta and Trunks. So that part of my game plan is to try to get rid of it. But in the meantime, gotta defend against his Trunks and his Vegeta. So I do the leader ability. I'm gonna drop my Raz Giant Force, which will come into rest mode. So typically that would be a problem, right? To play out the unison, because of course his Trunks effect will trigger to put me in rest mode. But because it is Raditz, he has the active main auto. I mean the +0 active main where I could draw a card and untap it at the end of the turn. It makes up for the fact that he is being rested. So as you can see, I untap him at my turn. So that helps me bypass that issue. So this is part of my, experience with this deck. I know what his, Trunks can do. So I know how to try to play around it. So obviously right here is to help me stall long enough. Stall long enough to obviously try to get my Gotenks, which, if I'm right, is the only card in the deck that does have barrier hate. I don't think I have other barrier hate cards in the deck. Obviously, I could always try to, obviously incorporate more. Never know, they might give us a 3-drop unison as a blocker that also has like a barrier hate effect that I could replace Raditz with. That way I could just play it and instantly get rid of his, Trunks. So of course he evolves. He's going to draw cards. So remember, we're going a little aggro, so you see how he has less life points than me, but also I'm looking at his deck and my deck, and he has less cards than me. So he's getting close to having less than 20 cards in his deck. Which means later on, I'm going to want to obviously try to force him to, deck himself out as a potential win con. You can see in the clock above me, it's almost 15 minutes. So we're on turn 3 and we're already halfway through the game, right? So that's the thing. Like, you could literally waste 30 minutes within the first 4 turns of the game. Technically 8 because it's 4 of your turn, 4 of your opponent's turn, but you get the idea. You're more focused on how many turns you get to play, which is why I was talking about you don't want to take damage. You don't want to take early game damage, right? You don't want to take damage early game because it'll make it hard for you to get to late game. And you might want to get to a turn 5, 8, turn 6 in order to go off, or at least to put yourself in a winning position. You at least want to make sure you can get to the turn. Let's say you have 2 life and your opponent has 4. Well, you want to at least get to your next turn, right? To try to deal them 3 damage to get them down to 1, and then when time runs out, they have 1 life, you have 2 lives, so you win, right? So that's why it's important to try to make sure you keep your life high, just so you can win in time, as well as if you end up in a scenario where your opponent, deals you a lot of damage in a single turn, but you're still able to get a turn afterwards, then you can, go, do the clapback, right? Come back and try to hit him enough to make sure that his life is less than yours, and hopefully, after you do that, time gets called and you win because you have more life than opponent. So that is a strategy for winning. Not a very favorable one because you rather win through, win cons, right? You'd rather win through actually playing out the game, but the fact that we have time, now time is a win con, so we gotta take advantage of it, right? So gotta always keep the defenses up, keep jabbing, jab, right? Keep poking at our opponent, keep dealing some, damage here and there. This also puts you in a position where it's like I said, dealing 1 damage at a time. That way it makes it hard for your opponent to try to, use a lot of cards against you. Is deal with 1 damage and then just attack their board. Deal 1 damage to their life, attack their board. You get it. Just rinse and repeat. Just control their board. Deal 1 damage here and there, just so you can make sure you're always up on life. Especially if you get in a scenario where your opponent comes back at you, be like, oh, I play this big 8-drop swings, triple strike, like, shit. You're able to, come back and, take me from 8 life down to 5. And you don't want your opponent to be at 6, like my opponent is right now, right? You want them to be at 6 when they hit you with triple strike, right? You rather them be like at 4 or something when they hit you with triple strike. So that way, you're at least still 1 life higher than them. Especially if they hit you with triple strike, right? Bring you from 8 to 5, and then time gets called. You want to still have 1 life more than opponent if they just so happen to be at 4 life, right? So things like that you got to think about. I mean, which sucks, right? I'd rather we play until somebody decks out or an auto win con effect like the Beerus leader, or somebody loses all 8 life. But we don't have that much time competitively, right? For that, so we have the third option, which is winning in time. So just keep your life high and keep reducing your opponent's life low. So he has the ability to block. He has 19k blocker there, so he could block the attack. He's going to repost if I'm right. So hit me with the repost. So let's see. Almost at 20 minutes. We have a little over 12 minutes left. So he does that. So I'm thinking what I'm going to do. I don't have the 4 blue energy necessary to play the boo, obviously, so I gotta play something different. So it's like, okay, I'm gonna go with this. Sharon Figure Majesty, bringing him back. Goody. He comes into rest mode because of Trunks, obviously. I have clearly, you can't see it, but yeah, I got 9 cards in the drop, and so obviously I have Sparking 5. So I draw a card, and then I was going to bring him back from the drop, but I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to untap energy. That was the idea. The way you want to play him is you play him for 4, untap 2. Because you want to have energy for, like, defense, right? Oceans, that kind of stuff. Or at least to do something like this. Yeah, since I can untap blue energy with this, obviously I can use it to, untap blue energy for other stuff. Now, here I thought that his Putin would put me in rest mode, but it only works on stuff that's played through skill. So it's like, oh, okay, this doesn't do anything. So let me grab the ball. Just further increasing my hand. I think I used the leader's ability because I haven't used the leader's effect yet. Keep an eye on my opponent's life. Yeah, I do the leader's effect because I'm going to bring myself down to 25 cards. So I have 6 cards in my hand. So then I'll end up with 7 once I use my leader's ability. Oh, I have left. Okay, so what I'm going to do is 30k. All right, so it's repose. Repose is causing me to put my card in rest mode. Obviously, I didn't have to do that. I could have just done my energy, but I wanted to, be safe than sorry. So now I'm going like 30k skillless to my opponent's leader, which should definitely get them down to 5 life. Because he's gonna need 20 combo power to combo them. And he didn't block, so surprised he didn't, but obviously we could have killed his battle card in the process if he did block, but he's taking damage. I guess he was counting on repulse, preventing me from attacking, so now I'm going to do the leader's ability, to replenish my hand, so I'm going to get my hand up to at least 5. My opponent's hand is at 10 cards, so you see it's twice the size of my hand. So his defensive capabilities is a lot higher than mine. But we still see that his life is lower than mine. So that's untap. So I have the potential to block at least 2 attacks. I got at least 15k combo power in my hand. And I have 7 life, so I have some cushion. I could at least take 6 damage without dying this turn, right? So 6 damage plus 2 attacks potentially stop. So that's 8 damage I could potentially stop/absorb. And and 1 blue energy for a power burst or a what's it called? The other card, dirty burst. So one of the burst cards could pop up from my life to my hand. So we'll see. So we're at 23 minutes. There's only 7 minutes left in the game. So he clears my board with his unison. See, I would have still had my 1-drop Goku Victor Briggs if I rested my energy instead of resting him. So he's attacking my unison. It's like, fine by me. Waste the attacks on my unison. That's his job. He's literally there to absorb attacks. So I'm okay with you swinging at him. So my opponent's at 22 cards. I'm at 25. So he has less than me. My opponent is Mr. Farts, apparently. I was a little surprised. I'm like, why isn't he attacking his unison for his battle cards? Like his repulse at least. He has at least 3 attacks. I barely had defense, but like, okay, whatever. I'm not going to, take a give course in the mouth or something like that. Whatever the term is, I'm not going to complain. I'll take the free turn. Boop, boop. I guess he just didn't want to add to my hand or something. He just didn't want me to get more cards. I guess he's hoping that I slowly run out of hand advantage. I go all the way tap out to 5 because I want to make sure I have 5 markers on him because I'm going to -3. So I'll make sure he has 2 markers left, so that way he could potentially, absorb 2 attacks. So of course I'm in rest mode because of his Trunks. Now I'm gonna get rid of the Trunks and his Vegeta. So this is the main card that I use to deal with these 2 cards, especially when they're on the field at the same time, right? This is how to deal with that, which is a little kind of productive, right? Because of the fact it puts at the bottom of my opponent's deck, so it makes the deck out aspect of the deck slower. It slows down me milling my opponent out. So, end my turn. But my opponent's at 5, I'm at 7. As you can see, there's less than 5 minutes left. So if I can keep my life high and time runs out, I win, right? So that's one way of looking at it. So we'll see what my opponent does. I think he evolved. I think he did something because I see a Trunks up there. So he swings with the Unison. I take it because I have no response. So I lose a marker. So he'll swing again to obviously kill my Unison. So his goal is to kill my Unison, but my Unison already did its job. I would like to have used it to kill his Unison in the process, but I couldn't do both. So take what I can get. Trying to think. Yeah, something happened here. What was it? He ended up leaving the game, so I'll pause it right there a second. So he ended up leaving the game. As you can see, it was about to be 27, so it was about 3 minutes left in the game. Now let me go back for a second, see how much he had prior. Okay, so he killed my Unison. So he's at 5, I'm at 7. And he wasted 2 Unison attacks. He would have leader and repulse attack unless he plays something out, like some type of big 8-drop or something that he could potentially attack with. Because he has Trunks and Vegeta in play, so 4 energy. So I think he might have the 8-drop Goku, Trunks and Vegeta 8-drop. I think that there's a 35k they can attack twice, if I'm right. So that would be 2, 3, leader, 4. So 4 potential damage, which would bring me down, if I don't block any, obviously, will bring me down to 3. Yeah, 4 potential damage. Bring me down to 3. Of course, will have 2 life more than me, obviously, in that scenario. That's if that plays out. Again, like I said, it depends on the situation, because let's say he does pay 4, so he's tapped out, he does that, he does me 4 damage, so then I'm at 3. That's my turn, I draw, play, and I do have, I draw, play, energy, I do have in my drop, Vegeta's, Skillless. I think I have 1 of these Goku, Zeno, the defenders in the drop. If not, I can obviously just try to get it, try to get into play. Try to get into the drop. Let's see, if I draw and charge, I'll be at 6 energy. He requires field and drop in order to do its play. Yeah, that'd be fine. That's what it is. Because the idea is that I will use, the deadly defenders in my hand to combo to try to hopefully take less damage. So hopefully I don't get down to 3. I get maybe down to 4 life. So I just allow myself to get down to 4 life. Right. So my life can still be a little bit high, just 1 less than my opponent. And all I have to do is at least do 2 damage to my opponent, and then time runs out, and then I win because I have 4, he has 3, right? That kind of stuff. So I just would need at least 2 damage to get through. And then with the Gogeta, I would be able to get, have 3 attacks. So I have the potential of at least getting 2 damage to go through. So that's how I would want to be is at 4 life, getting these Gokus in the drop. I have up to 20 combo popper. Obviously, I want to keep one of the Gogeta, so I'll combo up to 15k just to try to take less damage. And then, of course, whatever I get from my life from taking damage, I will use it to try to defend even more, just to keep my life high. And then drop this, swing back at my opponent, clap, 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 right? Try to get as much damage to go through as possible. And then get time, and then just, win in time, right? You have time, get called, and boom, more than my opponent. So that's the kind of stuff that I would want to try to do, is make sure that my opponent is in a position where they're losing a lot of cards from the deck. I have more life than them, and let that be the main strategy, the main way of playing that will allow me to win. And unfortunately, regardless of what deck you're playing, regardless of whatever matchup you're against, you'll win. This whole time thing ironically makes it easier to win the game, because you barely got to do much of anything. It's more about defense, deal some damage, defense, deal some damage. So it takes less strategy, less skill, because it's not about dealing 8 damage. We all know I can consistently do 6 to 7 damage. Still working on perfectly doing 8 all the time, not just some of the time, right? But being able to do 6 to 7 damage, and benefit from that, because you can see we're ready to turn 5 in this game, and I still got 7 life. My opponent still has 5, right? So we're still high life, and we got to some late games. Into the late game. So if in a regular, if this game kept going, we would be doing a lot of stalling or other factors. But that'll be the end of this video.